Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who was also known as Saraswati Thakura. He appeared in the holy place of Jagannath Puri in the year of 1874. When he was born, his umbilical cord was wrapped around him exactly as a Brahman thread decorates those who are twice born, which is a very rare and special phenomena. And at his birth, when people saw this, they were very much astonished. And one of the great astrologers of the time read his horoscope and proclaimed to everyone that this is not an ordinary person. He is not a human being. He is a Mahapurusha. He is endowed with all the highest excellences of spiritual characteristics. And within his life, he will preach the highest truths and be the greatest servant of all humanity. When he was hardly 6 months old, his house was right on the road where the Jagannath Ratha Yatra takes place. The Ratha Yatra was coming and Jagannath's cart stopped right in front of his house, and no one could move it, however long they tried to pull and pull. In fact, it was there for several days. So the wife of Bhakti Vinoda, Sri Yukta Bhagavati Devi, she decided, let me take my child out for the darshan of the Lord. And the pujaris allowed her to climb the ladder to the top of the cart, and she set the child just in front of the beautiful deity of Jagannath Dev, and the child reached out and took the dust of the feet of Jagannath upon his head, and just at that very moment, a garland fell off Jagannath and encircled the beautiful child. And everyone began to call out, Haribo! When Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur heard this, it was confirmed that this child was the fulfillment of his prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was named Bimala Prasad, which is a very special name, because for those of you who have gone into the Jagannath temple, within the temple there is a deity of Bimala Devi. Bimala is the pleasure potency of the Lord, and whatever bhoga is offered to Jagannath, it is the standard that that bhoga is first given and offered to Bimala Devi, and then that is distributed to the public. So in order to get Jagannath's prasad, you have to get it from Bimala Devi. So Bhakti Vinoda named this child Bimala Prasad. If you want Jagannath's prasad, you have to get it from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Go Premanandi! When he was very young, Prabhupada tells a story. He was hardly 3 years old. His father brought some mangoes to offer to Krishna. But he happened to take one of those mangoes. And Bhakti Vinoda said, oh, you should wait until it's offered to Krishna first. This is not good. So this 3-year-old child made a vow. I will never eat a mango for the rest of my life because I have made an offense to the Lord. And Prabhupada said, up until he disappeared from this earth, he never touched a mango. When people would offer, he would say, I am an offender, I cannot touch. This was the determination of this child. When he was 7 years old, his father was constructing a beautiful bhajan kutir called the Bhakti Bhavan in Calcutta. And as they were excavating it, digging the ground, they found a beautiful little deity of Kurma Dev, the incarnation of Lord Krishna in the form of a tortoise. And Bhakti Vinoda Thakur gave that Kurma Murti to Bimala Prasad and taught him how to worship it very carefully. And he centered his life around hearing from his father and worshiping the deity of Kurma Dev. Kurma is the form of the Lord that is worshipped for the purpose of giving a very strong spiritual foundation. Because you know, churning of the ocean of milk, how the mountain, it had no foundation. So however much the demigods and the demons were trying to churn the ocean and do their seva to Lord Vishnu, without foundation, the mountain was sinking. But Kurma Dev gave foundation for all other seva. So by worshiping the Lord in this form, we get stability to perform our devotional service, even in this ocean where there are so many instabilities. When he was 7 years old, he had memorized every sloka of Bhagavad Gita. Not only that, he could give elaborate commentary. Not only that, he could totally defeat any opinion that was averse to the pure principles of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. He was such a brilliant student. He was going to school, but he would never read any books except those by his father and Narottam Das Thakur. And he just wasn't interested in the other books. But still, he was always top of his class and had the first class highest grades in his exams and in all of his learning. He was so brilliant. He would hear something once, he would never forget. In this way, he was always absorbed in rapt attention in wanting to hear from his father. Such a small child. You children, you could learn from his example. When he was 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, when Bhakti Vinoda was speaking, or any other great acharya was speaking at Bhakti Vinoda's house, this little boy would sit in complete absorption, rapt attention, absorbing and learning everything and never forget. He was so determined. He was so sincere. It was so impressive upon everybody. When he was 13 years old, his father gave him a Tulsi Japa Mala that he had received from Jagannath Puri, and he gave him the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And he also gave him a Narsingha mantra. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, by the age of 13, he was worshipping Kurma Dev for spiritual stability. He was worshipping Narsingha Dev to protect him from all the dangers of Maya. And he was chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to purify his heart for the highest destination of transcendental love of God. When he was 16, he was going to school, the most brilliant student, absorbed in studying Bhakti Vinoda's books. He started an organization called the August Assembly. And the August Assembly was just his friends. But to join it, the only thing you were allowed to talk about was bhakti and spirituality. And you couldn't join it unless you took a lifelong vow of celibacy. So many of his friends were impressed, but he was the only one that fulfilled the vow. It is explained that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was given a scholarship in this Sanskrit College of Calcutta. And there, he was such a brilliant student. He was brilliant in mathematics. He was considered the greatest of astrologers. He was a great learned scholar of Sanskrit, philosophy. In fact, while he was at that college, he read every book in philosophy and religion in the entire library and had every one of them memorized. And he wrote his own books. He wrote a book called Surya Siddhanta in commentary. And he was given the award of the title Siddhanta Saraswati due to his great scholarship. And he was becoming very well known. And they even offered him, when he was very young, the seat of being a professor in the college. But he didn't finish college. Did you know that? He left college. And he writes in his autobiography why he left college. Because he felt if he had a high education with honors, everyone would expect so much of him that it would be natural that somebody with so many educational qualifications should get married and should have a very responsible post in material society. And he understood if he had a high education, he would be highly pressured for marriage and material affairs. But he wanted to give his whole life simply to serving Krishna. He didn't want to marry. He wanted to become a brahmachari. So therefore he left college and never got degree. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura ki. But it is not that you can imitate him. He was a great soul. But he did not want anything or any pressure to in any way impede his service to the Lord. He was not concerned with profit, adoration, distinction, classification. He was only concerned with whatever was best for service.
You were listening to Radhanath Swami on thesacredconnect.com.